Coliseum. Here we are, together.
We get up early in the morning.
Even friends or families here.
It's game day, and this place is special.
This is Bill King at the Oakland Coliseum, the home of the Oakland Raiders.
History lives here.
Number 41, Philadelphia.
Great defense! Holy Toledo! The place has done well!
The players.
Intercepted quarterback.
Back is Plunkett.
On the run. Touchdown.
That's 1,000 catches for Tim Brown.
The moments.
It looks like Clarence Davis. He's being knocked. The Oakland Coliseum is
Oakland Raiders have punched their ticket to the postseason.
And of course, the fans. Raiders! Pride and poise. Commitment to excellence. Raider Nation, it's Oaktown, baby.
Live from Johnny Donut Studios, you're watching the Mad Bomber podcast in really, really rainy Southern California. It is almost like we're in Seattle right now. No offense to Seattle, you're world champions, but it is a little bit rainy outside. Guys, tonight we have a very, very special show. It's going to be a show that we're going to talk about the new coaches. Since Friday, we promised you that when we had the coordinators, we would bring you on. We're missing one coach. We'll talk about the possibilities of that one coach we're missing so far. But tonight, the Oracle was in his laboratory all weekend long talking to Raider fans. He's got a fan club now. It's called the Oracle Fan Club. And we've been discussing each one of the hires as they've come along, and along with some of our friends on Twitter. And Kubiak is looks like where he's going to go for the most part. He's going to go with some younger coaches. And I don't think he's reaching on his hires. I think the Oracle has some thoughts on that. My thoughts are that if you're gonna do this the way that he wants to do it, Kubiak talked about in his press conference, and it's not about scheme. It's not about different ways to attack the defenses. It's about teaching and the players that he can get in here. We have a lot of holes on defense. We're going to talk about that tonight. Oracle, how are you tonight?
Oh, I'm doing good, man. You know, a little bit of rain here, more like a lot of rain here in San Diego. I think it's definitely we got the Clint Kubiak, Seattle. These coaches coming down from Seattle, and they bring the weather down to San Diego. So, but other than that, I'm doing pretty good.
No, it looks like David Freitas is already chiming in and saying it's raining in Northern California. Imagine that, raining in the Bay Area. Very nice. Well, I guess we're not going to Santa Cruz this weekend. Guys, subscribe and like. Subscribe and like. We'd love to do that for you. Also, salute to you, Jeff. Oracle, we're going to go ahead and do one little video that everybody – I got a lot of feedback from the last show that they were really impressed with the way we presented Clint Kubiak, and they wanted to see that video again. I told them it's on TikTok. I mean, I love TikTok. I love TikTok and nepotism. So let's watch that. Let's watch that video one more time. And if you watch from the start, listen to this guy. This is the coach you're getting for your Las Vegas Raiders.
Coach, come hang out with me today. If you can keep up with the tempo. Here we go. Let your voice be heard. Speak, speak, speak. You want to play in the game or not? You got to put it on tape right now. Let's go. Good ball security habits now. Don't let that thing swing out, especially you today, right, Seven? All day, man. We're going to preach it. Stance and start all day. Got to be important to you. Don't fade now. Get right there. Put your eyes on it. Eyes on it. Go. Mean street. Mean street. Mean street. Stay in control now. Just
Okay, Oracle. Right there. I wanted to stop that right there. And they said he's not boisterous. Okay? He's not the rah-rah type. Sure seems like he's a little bit boisterous in on the field. You know, I don't know if you knew this. I'm sure you did, Oracle, but I didn't know that he was a captain at Colorado State his senior year. Did you know that?
I didn't know that either, but that doesn't really surprise me because, look, I think people get a narrative on them, and depending on how they act, a lot of times people get a little too carried away with how coaches act at a press conference, and they think that that's how they act all the time, but that's just often not the case. And in that little video right there of Clint Kubiak, even though he's a position coach at Kansas, and it was a little while ago, I don't think he's just done a complete 180 and he's Mr. Stoic and he hangs out in Buddhist monasteries. I think there's a lot of that still in him.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely not. No. So, yeah, I think, look, again, I said this on the last episode, is I think we're not only getting a schemer, but we're getting a teacher too, a guy who teaches the fundamentals. I'm not saying that he's like that video right there. He's going to be putting the things on his arm and be doing those kind of drills, but I think he might, but I think that's the culture he's going to want out of the assistant coaches that he just hired. So I definitely think that's very telling of what we're going to see in Raiders practices in Henderson.
Yeah, let's check it out. That's a great point because he's got his muscles on right there, and then you see at the end of the video when he goes into the Vikings, he's got a microphone, and then maybe he may go back to the armbands here. Let's take a watch. This is, if you listen to some of this, there's a part in here I don't want when he says something about, come on, 7. Let's see that again, 7. A lot better today, man. You're a different guy. Do you remember that?
Yeah, well, he's talking about ball security. He's like, especially you, 7.
Let's go. Just go. Let's go. Place by. Look at him. I don't know what happened to you, man. You're a different guy today. Explode out, QBs. Explode out. All right, let's wake it up. Wake up the feet. Here we go. Eyes up, eyes up, eyes up, eyes up. Boom, good feet. Like it. Oh, baby. Good placement. Perfect. Cross my face. Cross my face. Get it down. Get it down. Get it down, especially in the red zone. Nice job. Great decision. Way to rip it in there. That's a good decision right there. That was good football right there. All right, D, give us a look, Deep. Give us a look. First down, man. First down. We got to chunk that thing downfield. First down, we got to get it here, right? Keep it alive with your legs if it's not open. Last play of the game.
So, Oracle, I love that video. I love watching that video. It's one of those videos. I got a whole bunch of comments I'm going to get to in a minute. Hold on, guys. Everybody's got us being a smarty pants right now, and I love it. I really see a teacher. I mean, obviously. And again, these are snippets. I haven't been in. I didn't get to watch whole practices with him at Kansas and with the Vikings, but you know a lot about what he did with the Vikings. Allude to what he did. Remind the guys, because a lot of guys were talking about what they didn't understand. What was how did he become a coach for the Minnesota? And then how did he go to the next level with Minnesota?
Well, in Minnesota, his dad, Gary Kubiak, was there. And his dad was an offensive assistant there. And he really, the scheme that he really is known for is the outside zone. And he was in Minnesota only when they had Kirk Cousins, but also when they had Case Keenum, when Case Keenum went to the NFC Championship game. So he's worked with a bunch of quarterbacks, whether it's Sam Darnold, whether it's Derek Carr in New Orleans, whether it's Kirk Cousins, Case Keenum. So this is a guy who's been able to he's not just married to one quarterback. He's able to take what he's given, and he's able to make the most out of what he's got. So, yeah, but it's all rooted in the outside zone running game and everything that comes off of it with the boots and nakeds, the play action, heavy personnel, a lot of different kind of – and later on we'll dive into some of the exact runs that go into what the scheme that he runs, because a lot of people have an idea of outside zone and they think it's all kind of the same play, but there's different variations of outside zone, and that's something we could dive into on a later date that I'm really excited about.
Right, though. Let's watch one real quick because we don't want to stay on Clint Kubiak too long. We know he's our coach, but before we get to the video that you're going to see, why don't you talk about this, Oracle? Let me get that.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and read it if you want. So
no, that's awesome. Please.
Yeah, so it says Sunday morning, word got to the Raiders via Seattle GM John Snyder.
That was the Super Bowl Sunday.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Oracle.
No, go ahead. Yeah, that Kubiak would accept their job, but he wanted the opportunity to give those players he was still trying to prioritize word first. Before the news got out, the Raiders obliged. And as to that focus that the Raiders like so much in Kubiak, the day after the Super Bowl and the new Vegas coach had gotten the lay of the land, he was headed back to his hotel with his family and preparing for a week full of staff building when Spytek made one last demand. He told Kubiak he had to go to the Seahawks parade. Kubiak initially didn't want to lose the day of work. The GM said he never regret spending that Wednesday in Seattle. So two things. I like the fact that even though Kubiak is just coming off winning a Super Bowl as an offensive coordinator, he wanted to get to work immediately with the Raiders. But I like the fact that Spytek is saying, hey, look, you won a Super Bowl. That's something everyone in this business dreams of. Spytek won a Super Bowl when he was in Tampa, and I'm sure he has vivid memories of that parade, and he wanted Clint Kubiak to experience the same thing. So I like what I'm seeing, not only from Kubiak, but from Spytek too. What do you think, Johnny?
I think the Raiders brass has handled this whole situation from the end of the year when we were obviously getting the first pick to when they went ahead and did their due diligence with each coach, with each coaching candidate. They took people in, they brought them in, I was just reading all the interviews again today when they were talking. They had Brady in for a second interview, Dable in for a second interview, Webb in for a second interview. They were very, very meticulous, and this is not what you've seen in the past for the Raiders. I don't remember the last time we've been this meticulous about going after a head coach. I mean, it just seemed to pop on us every time we'd have someone pop on us, or we had an interim coach, and then it was, we need this guy. Max, what do you think? Oh, I love him. Max, what do you think? I love him. Devontae, what do you think of Lou Sketsy? I love him. No players were asked their opinion this time. And this is what I think is different about Spytek coming into the Raiders. Going back last year when the Raiders won the first game against New England and Pete Carroll was all hearts and flowers, and Spytek was in the news a little bit here and there before the season. But the day after they beat the Patriots and everybody was ready to go to the Super Bowl, you all do remember that. And Spytek made the comment, said, well, you know what? We're going to have some peaks and valleys this year. This is a different roster. And I knew what he was saying is, we're hoping for the best, but I understand what's possibly going to happen. And then he went radio silent until after the season. No interviews from him, no on the podcasts, no on TVs, no Jay Glazer, nothing. He was just radio silent until that when he went to make the end of the year. He says, we're going to do our due diligence about bringing in a head coach, and we're going to make the right choice. We have to get this right. So, well, Raider fans, and I'm sure there's some watching the show, when are we going to get our head coach already? That's going to be screwed. What happens if he leaves us at the altar? They were willing to take that chance for this guy. And I'm glad they did, because who knows if he's going to be the next, who's the coach from the Sean McVay? Or is he going to be Charlie Weiss or Norv Turner? We don't know that. I mean, I'm praying that he's going to be the next Sean McVay. And, I would love to see that, but I think he may. I love the Shanahan tree. I love the McVay tree. I love the Kubiak tree, and I've always wanted that. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted that. Oracle, talk about this play.
Yeah. So we got 11 personnel here, and we got outside zone, but it's a fake and it's a bootleg. And then you got Trey Tucker running across the formation. And this is what having a good running game does, is that it sets up not only the downfield passes, but it sets up the quick passing game, the short passing game as well. And I'm really excited to see Trey Tucker in this offense too. I want to see more plays like this because I believe he's a guy who has good catch and run ability. And when you could get him in space, you got Ashton Janty as the sledgehammer. You got Brock Bowers as a guy who's a dynamic route runner and makes impressive catches. And then you got a guy like Trey Tucker who not only could get down the field, but he could also make plays in space too. So you see all the linemen going to their right on this play. And look at the linebackers. They come downhill and they kind of freeze for a little bit. And then right at the mesh point, they see Geno pull it out. And then they see Tucker running across. No one's really covering him. You see a player coming in at the last second, retreating. And you got a little bit of space for Trey Tucker to work there. And I think there's going to be a lot of this. I think they're also going to have plays like this with Brock Bowers as well, where they get him in space. I was watching a video the other day where they showed a lot of Clint Kubiak in Seattle with 2 tight end personnel and the run, not only the runs that Kenneth Walker did, but also how they use AJ Barner and Eric Sobert in the passing game as well. So I just think this is a really good opportunity to marry the run and the pass together and really set up not only Ashton Janty, but Fernando Mendoza for success. So I'm really excited about some of the plays that are going to be called. Now we just got to see what the personnel is going to look like.
And with that, we'll go into personnel soon. If you were here on the Mad Bobber podcast on Friday, you got to see a free agent show on offensive linemen. We are going to go ahead. Carmen, look at Carmen said, hello, fellas. She was a little late today. What's up, Toots? Nice to see you. And then she made this is a great comment. That's what we need, teachers. Season of development, baby. That is so perfect. And that's a great segue into our coaching. So today we did get a new coach. We are still waiting for one coach. We don't know who that's going to be, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Like and subscribe. Look at Dan R. Dan R, like and subscribe.
Yeah.
Look at Dan R.
Yeah, I think he beat you to it.
He did. Let me see. Is your picture aligned? Good.
Oh yeah.
And I got
the level out. Yeah. Oh yeah. Nothing but symmetry.
Dan R. was
just like the outside zone.
He was so upset with you. He called me and complained for a half an hour. All right, here we go. Oracle, what do you think of this hire?
Yeah, interesting hire. I mean, first of all, this guy, I think as a matter of a couple hours ago, was an assistant defensive line coach for the New York Giants. He was in Baltimore with John Harbaugh, and I guess either Kubiak or I'm going to guess it was Rob Leonard was the one that got on the phone and called him. Yeah, and said, "Hey, you want a promotion?" So Matt Robinson had a nice little talk with John Harbaugh, and John Harbaugh definitely granted because it's not a lateral move; it's a step up. He was an assistant defensive line coach, and now he's the safeties coach. And I saw somewhere else that he's the secondary coach, so I don't know how much work he'll have with the corners as well. So I'm excited about this. I mean, this is someone who in Baltimore, they've had a lot of good secondary people, whether it's Kyle Hamilton, whether it's Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Peters for the years that they had. They had Malachi Starks last year that they drafted, and Alohi Gilman that they brought over from the Chargers. So the Ravens definitely have a good history with secondary players. So I'm curious to see how he is as a teacher and being under John Harbaugh, seeing what a good coach looks like. I think this is someone that Rob Leonard has a lot of respect for, especially the fact that he already had a job, and he thought so highly of him. He's like, hey, listen, you're going to be one of my trusted confidants. Not only with you're going to work hand in hand with Joe Woods, and I think this is someone that could be kind of a real good asset for Rob Leonard as he settles into this role.
And you just mentioned Joe Woods. So Joe Woods did not go anywhere. Joe Woods is going to be, so they're bringing him back. I'm very much impressed with Joe Woods. He was one of the guys who was, here he is. If you listen to Charles Woodson talk about Joe Woods, if you Raider fans remember when he came back, when Woodson came back to the Raiders the second time, he made the switch to free safety. One of the best free safeties I've ever seen play in his later years for anybody. He almost made him and Rod Woodson, the Woodsons, actually was a very smooth transition for them. I don't understand, Oracle, how some DBs don't transition more, like physical Nnamdi Asomugha kind of guys don't transition more into safeties. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but anyway, Joe Woods was one of those guys that came up on the Raiders staff. He was under Dennis Allen, and he's got that Dennis Allen attitude, DBs, and he got the best out of Charles Woodson the years that he was there. I was very impressed with Charles Woodson those years. So you're looking at Matt Robinson, a kid. He's a kid. I mean, he's literally – Matt Robinson was never a coordinator, never really a coordinator or a position coach. He was quality controls. He was the guy like the Nate Shieldhouse, the guy that was firming up plays. He's there till midnight doing all the work for the coaches. So this is a very, very interesting hire by the Raiders. Again, I'm always very I got my eyes on him, obviously, but with this hire right now, we talked about this earlier, Oracle. Talk about what kind of scheme are the Raiders going to run on defense? Rob Leonard's coming in. We'll talk a little about Rob Leonard, but before we talk about the front end, what about the back end? What do you think is going to happen? Are we going to get Eric Stokes back? Do you want Darnay Holmes back? Do you want Caillou Blue Kelly back? What do you want? What do you see in the Raiders secondary moving forward?
Yeah, well, I definitely don't want Darnay Holmes back. I didn't really think he brought any value to the team. I think slot corner is a very big need for the Raiders. And one thing that's interesting, actually, if we look at free agency, is there's a New Orleans Saints nickel corner named Alontae Taylor, who was a free agent this year. And Joe Woods coached him in New Orleans when he was there. So I wonder if that's someone that the Raiders go out and target, because he not only does he has a lot of experience in the slot, but he could also play on the boundary too. Even though he's mostly a slot. So I think that's someone that the Raiders really go out and target, because that would be someone that Joe Woods has familiarity with. And that would be someone that it would make sense for the Raiders to maybe overpay for, because he has familiarity within the coaching scheme. And I say overpay because I believe that you have to overpay for every player in free agency, because whenever a player is going to free agency, for the most part, you have multiple bidders. So just like a house, when you have multiple bidders on a house, the price goes up on the house. So I think we don't really have a ton to go off of, because outside of Joe Woods, no one on this staff has called plays. But I think with Joe Woods, it's a lot of Dennis Allen influences. So it's a lot of Tampa 2. It's a little bit of cover 1. And Joe Woods has run some cover 3 in the past, but that's because he was with Pete Carroll. So again, when we don't know what the personnel is, it's very hard to anticipate what the scheme is going to be, because I think, and I hope, that the Raiders aren't just going to be so rigid on a certain scheme, even though it's when you got guys coming over from Mike McDonald's who have experience with Brian Flores. It's very easy to want to emulate what they do, but at the same time, I believe it's best that you get the best players available, and then once you assemble the roster, even after the draft, then you go out and say, hey, after analyzing this team that we got, this is the principles and the coverages that we really want to incorporate, that we believe go along with the rushers that we have.
I totally agree. We are in a full rebuild on the defense. Seriously, you have 2 linebackers right now that are under contract. Those are the Bergs. These are the Bergs, and Eichenberg and Lindenberg. Those are 2 guys that you have. I don't want to see Masterson back. Man, I was watching some film. Oh my man, he just hurt. That just really hurts watching that guy. And you had some thoughts on Palomau. You know how much I don't like him, but what do you think is going to happen with Palomau? Just Palomau.
Yeah, so I'm going to over the cap right here, and I'm looking at the post-June 1 cap savings, and I see Isaiah Palomau, if they were to cut him after June 1, the Raiders would get about $4 million in cap room. And look, we did a lot of breakdowns last year on Palomau, and they weren't really good breakdowns. And I believe he is someone that ideally they would move off of, but you would want to make sure they get a good replacement. Kobe Bryant from Seattle is a guy who's a free agent. I'm curious to see how much they go after him. And do they believe Kobe Bryant is a better pairing with Jeremy Chin? Because I'm a firm believer that Jeremy Chin should not be playing in the slot.
No.
He should be playing strong safety, but more in the other linebacker as a safety. I believe that's the role he's best suited for.
Like a strong side linebacker on the tight end. He's got to cover that.
Yeah, definitely. So I believe if they cut Palomau, bring in Kobe Bryant, if they maybe get Alontae Taylor, then we could be looking at a much improved secondary just off those 2 moves.
I totally agree. That's kind of a. I hope they do address the safety position. Kobe Bryant's a sexy name right now because we just seen him play. But there's also a lot of teams that are going to be in draft. Cap hell, which we will go through here soon. Next guy on our list, we're going to go from the. We stay on the defensive side. What do you think of this young man? Actually, not a young man.
No, it doesn't look like a young man, but this is Travis Smith coming over to be the defensive line coach, and he's coming over from Tennessee. And I wonder how much Mike McCoy, the new assistant head coach, had influence on Travis Smith being hired, because Mike McCoy was the interim head coach for the Titans last year. And then now Travis Smith's coming over to be on the Raiders staff with Mike McCoy. So this is interesting. I don't know much about his experience, but I do know that
he was a Raiders coach in 2007 and 2015. He came to the Raiders in 2014. He was just the linebackers coach. I don't know much about him either, to be honest with you, because I'm never honest with anybody. But reading up on him since he was hired, Khalil Mack had some of his best years with Travis Smith as a linebackers coach. So he's no stranger to danger here. Yep, he was Kyle. He was a coach first, and he actually was a. In 2021, in 2017, that was the year that Mack got the Pro Bowl and Player of the Year. He was Pro Football First Defensive Player of the Year. So he's got some moxie in him. He actually helped Max Crosby too. He was here in 2021. He helped Max Crosby earn his first Pro Bowl. I'm just reading, guys. I don't know much about this guy. I wish I did, because this was just a newer hire. And then he went to when I did see some quotes from Max Crosby when he went to the Bears. Max Crosby did tweet out that that was his boy. So Are they lining the pockets of Max Crosby getting his best friends, as Derek Carr would say?
Well, I think another thing that's happening here is the Dennis Allen connection is really coming forward. Clint Kubiak worked for Dennis Allen in New Orleans. Joe Woods, and now Travis Smith, who worked with Dennis Allen with the Raiders. So it's kind of the Dennis Allen return of the defense here. So very interesting to have that connection coming in. And these are all guys that so it's not only a Mike McCoy connection. I think it's even more of a Clint Kubiak connection than I anticipated because of the Dennis Allen. Clearly, Dennis Allen's is having a lot of, not directly, but indirectly, is having a lot of influence on this Raiders staff.
You mean the Dennis Allen tree? It's prevalent, but if you're going to be a TMZ guy, which we are not, you could say, "Wow, they brought this guy in because Max Crosby became a Pro Bowler in 2021 because of him." So, are we trying to keep Max? We'll talk about that at some point. But everybody, drum roll, please. Like and subscribe right now, right before Oracle goes off. This is going to be one of Oracle's favorite topics tonight, guys. Hold on. Before we get to Oracle, nepotism. My son, Greg Collins, DA, that man knows how to coach secondary. I think he knows how to coach defenses too. He's I think he did a lot with the little this year in Chicago.
They had a ton of turnovers. I think they led the league in turnovers.
Yeah, they did. Yes, they did. Now, drum roll, please. Go ahead. Here's Oracle's favorite subject for the day. Joe DeCamillas. Oracle, you're up, buddy. I know you've been waiting for this. You called me 10 times today and talked about a special teams guy. So we are going to go heavily into the special teams. Your Honor.
Well, in the high school I went to, we had a special teams coach who used to say special teams is for special players who make special plays. And this is Joe DeCamillas, who's trying to coach some special plays out of the Raiders. And this is a guy who has a ton of experience. I mean, just look at, you said the other guy looked like a young guy. This guy does not look like a young guy at all.
This guy doesn't shave. He's gross.
No. He looks like a guy. He looks like a guy who hangs out in your backyard, Johnny. But anyways, no, I mean, so this is a guy, I mean, look, a lot of experience. I mean, was a special teams coach with the Broncos when they won the Super Bowl, special team coach with the Rams when they won the Super Bowl. He spent the last 2 seasons in South Carolina, which I find very fascinating because when we get to the draft upcoming in April, I'm very curious how much Joe DeCamillas is going to have, the impact he's going to have on day 3 of the draft, because on day 3 of the draft, that's where you get a lot of special teams players. And him being a special teams coach in the SEC, not only is he going to have knowledge on players at South Carolina, but he's also watched a lot of special teams amongst other teams in the SEC. So he might have some opinions about who could be a good special teams fit for the Raiders on day 3 based on who he's watched in college. So I'm very interested.
Which rounds again, Oracle, for the players, for the folks at home?
Yeah, so day 3 of the draft is rounds 4 through 7. Day 1 is the first round. Day 2 is rounds 2 and 3. And days 3, rounds 4 through 7, where you get a lot of special teams players on there, guys who are trying to make the roster.
Right. So that's going to be, and that's interesting that you brought that up 10 times today. I mean, today in my backyard, I was going to say, seriously, that's an insight that, the scouting department's going to bring this guy in and interview him about, okay, we got X, Y, Z. These are the players we're looking at. And this guy can give a really, really good assessment, because when you're on special teams as a special teams coach, you realistically have 4 things you have to work on. And this guy right here probably saw a lot of football on the sidelines. And when you're a gentleman of his age and of his status, and who has been around the league and seen guys who have been big time special teams players, in their lives, they're able to identify a guy that has a motor. There's a guy on New England who's just the best. Is his name Schooler, the special teamer?
Yeah, Brennan Schooler, I think is his name. Yeah.
You know what? Since Jeff Barnes, and Jeff Barnes will be on the Mad Bomber podcast soon, when Jeff Barnes was a special teamer for the Raiders, he was the first guy down there and to tackle. He never, ever, ever missed. This guy, I thought he got 3 Super Bowls, but I was wrong. He got 2. And this guy has 2 rings from being Schooler, the guy that plays for the Patriots. That guy is unbelievable. I mean, he's unblockable on punts. That's a very important, when you're talking about field position in the AFC playoffs, that's a big, big, big time play when you can get the guys back, when you can put the other team back on their side, even deep as you can. You know, the punters do good jobs of coughing corners and laying and getting the over end kicks. But guys like Schooler and Jeff Barnes are the ones to make sure they're down there first. Man, they're 10 yards, 15 yards ahead of everybody. They're the guys that make a difference. So Joe DeCamillas, welcome to the Silver and Black. You know, the Schick has a Turbo 3. If you need to know, I'll send you some. But this guy right here is going to be an important hire. And obviously, he's in the Kubiak tree. His dad, he coached with his dad. So now he's got somebody a little bit older, a little bit more comfortable with him. And that's very important. That's very important. And we talked about the how many younger coaches we have now. We have a lot of young coaches. Rob Leonard, who's coming up here next, is a young coach. So there's going to be a little, sometimes that guy to lean on. We're not going to talk about Mike McCoy because we really don't know what an assistant head coach does. Especially when I was listening to some other guys talk about this nationally, they were like, well, he can do this, he can do that. Marvin Lewis was assistant for Pierce, and we just don't know what they have. That's a paper thin title. You know, it could mean a lot of different things. So, Joe, welcome to the Raiders. I'm excited. I mean, his resume is good. He did have one down year. After the Rams won the Super Bowl the next year, the whole Rams team had a down year. They were just bad.
Yeah.
They were just bad. So next, I think the Raider fans are really split about this guy. I don't know why, but Rob Leonard, finally, he gets his shot. What do you think of Rob Leonard? What do you think of a hire of Rob Leonard?
Well, I highly doubt that the Raiders would hire him just because they want Max Crosby back. I think there's more to it than that. I mean, this is a guy who the Raiders have blocked for interviews in the past. So clearly John Spytek, Tom Brady has seen something in Rob Leonard. And the one thing that's a little unorthodox is usually defensive line coaches do not become coordinators. Usually it's more of the secondary guys, guys like a Joe Woods background, because defensive line coaches more often than not are more or less the lion tamers, where you got these pass rushers with these crazy personalities, a lot of testosterone, a lot of high energy. There's nothing like a defensive line room when it comes to SHIT talking, bravado. So usually you get a guy like a Rob Leonard who's kind of like the lion tamer, and you get a guy, the secondary coach, who's more of the schemer of when do we run zone, when do we run man, when do we run quarters coverage, what type of quarters coverage are we going to run? So it's very interesting. I would assume, I've never heard him give a speech, but I would assume he gives some pretty good speeches. He can really rally the troops. But I think Joe Woods is going to have a very influential role on the defense, maybe even a more important role than anything, because I do think that Joe Woods, being an experienced defensive coordinator, is going to be the one that is really kind of the tactician and the brains behind the operation. Rob Leonard's more of the face and the voice behind rallying everyone together. Not saying that he's not going to have an impact and he's just a ceremonial figure, but I do think that in terms of defensive coordinators, he's not going to have maybe the independence and autonomy that a Vic Fangio would have or a Dennis Allen would have. I think he's going to rely on Joe Woods a ton.
I think he's going to put his own stamp on it. He's done that with the defensive line. There were some quotes that I just last year when he got Malcolm Kuntz back, he was stoked. I mean, whether you like how Malcolm Kuntz played last year, but he's one of those coaches that said, this guy's got Banks reps that I love. This guy's the one who's going to be, he's going to give it to me all the time. I know what I get with this guy. I'm so glad we got him. I wish we could have done that with Chase on as well. You know, hindsight's 2020, but you know what? This guy is another one of the Clint Kubiak. We're going to teach. And the Raiders defensive line didn't put much pressure on the quarterback last year, but they were very good against the run. Very, very good against the run. And their technique for the most part was very good. And looking forward to Tonka Hemingway and JJ Pegues, the two guys that I really enjoy watching play as rookies. I thought they dominated as rookies, and I believe that's got a lot to do with Rob Leonard, who's for myself at first was a little like, okay, I just don't want to go back to this Patrick Graham cover 3 boring ass, no zero blitz, don't know how to blitz, no Devin Witherspoon style of blitzing. You know, it wasn't a very good, and it wasn't just last year. If you're trying to blame it because it was Pete Carroll's influence, I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. They're horrible on third down. They don't cover. Especially on third and short, they're not in playing any style of man defense. You're playing zone on third down. It's just a horrible defense. I'm sorry. I just hate it. So this guy, everybody's wondering. Nobody knows. He's not having a press conference. We don't know what kind of defense he's running. Is he going to be Mike McDonald? He's been under Mike McDonald. Is he going to be Brian Flores? He was under Brian Flores. Or is he going to be Patrick Graham?
Yeah. I think it's kind of a good thing that he's been under a lot of different coordinators. He's seen a lot of different ways to run a defense. And I think I would hope that he's very specific, not only to his personnel, but he's very game plan specific. Mm-hmm. And, you know, one thing with a defensive line coach is I think one of the most important things in defense in general is attacking protections, and not so much what scheme. Are we going to be a 3-4? Are we going to be a 4-3? I think that's a conversation that was 20 years ago. I think nowadays in football, it's how understanding how the protections are taught by the opponent, and you, Rob Leonard, coming up with ways to attack the protections and to mess with the teachings. And because the offensive line is taught to slide one way, you bring a simulated pressure from the other. And understanding when the center, how can you arrange your front to get the quarterback to slide the protection one way, and then you blitz from the other, and then you could get a free rusher. So the ways like that are, I think, if Rob Leonard is able to come up with some pressures, some simulated pressures, some creeper blitzes, because I think with just having Max Crosby, I don't know if they're going to completely retool the defensive line to have a defensive line like the Seahawks did, where it's just 6 guys who could all get after the quarterback. I highly doubt the Raiders are going to have something like that. They're going to have to be able to manufacture pressure with scheme a lot.
Well, and if you look at the 2 Super Bowl defensive coaches, Rabel and McDonald, they're their defensive coordinators, both of them.
Yeah,
they know how to bring blitzes. And you made a great point, Oracle. When you're a center and you see guys coming in the A gap to blitz, right? You can pretty much, call off a coverage, see where the tendencies of where the blitzes are coming, and call it on the line. But when you got a guy coming from the secondary like Devin Witherspoon, or you Raider fans remember Charles Woodson on all the time. I mean, the most famous one is with Tom Brady when we got, effed in. That is a tough call for a center. The only person that can actually change out of that coverage is the quarterback. The quarterback can change out of that coverage to see what's coming on the outside. So you saw 2 great defensive coordinators in the Super Bowl, And that's the reason why the Patriots were in that Super Bowl. They had no right to be in that Super Bowl. In my opinion, they won't even be in the playoffs next year. I don't think. Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. We'll worry about that next year. They have a first place schedule next year. They don't have a fourth place schedule next year. So, but basically, with Rob Leonard coming in, I'm really curious to see what his stamp's going to be as an offensive or as a defensive coordinator. And we're not going to know about it till the OTAs, and we may not even know about it until early in camp when you have the Hondos and the beat writers telling us what they look like they're running. Because I believe that the Raiders are going to be a lot more gamesy calling gamesmanship than they've ever been before. Because I don't think Clint Kubiak, like I said, I see a lot of Bill Belichick in that guy when he's talking. When they were trying to make him talk about Mendoza, he knew how to pull a Jedi Knight on him. I think you're going to get a lot of little information from the Raiders. So with that, here's Oracle's new second favorite. Who's this guy, Oracle? Oh, hold on. That was very disrespectful of me. Rob, welcome to the Silver and Black. You know you've been there, but we now get to say you are our DC, and the Mad Bomber podcast is proud for you to be our DC. I know I am.
Yeah, definitely. So we got Andrew JANOCKO. Coming over from Seattle. He was the quarterback coach there. Got Sam Darnold to play really well, along with Clint Kubiak. So I think this is someone who's going to be a real extension of Kubiak, kind of that pupil, and really coming over to try to get a head coaching job himself. Because look, kind of like how Sean McVay has been able to get a lot of offensive coaches hired. Same with Kyle Shanahan. I'm sure Clint Kubiak is trying to kind of get his name by demonstrating it on film, obviously, to get some of these assistants jobs as well. So,
I don't think he wants JANOCKO to leave. He's been with him forever.
Definitely not. Well,
tied at the hip.
Yeah, I know, but you want to see your guys.
I don't.
I know you don't. You just want nepotism. But
yes, I do. I love nepotism.
But interesting. I think the interesting thing is that he turned down an opportunity. The Seahawks hired another offensive coach, and he chose to come with Clint Kubiak. So I'm curious to see what the Seahawks thought of him being an offensive coordinator, if that was a real opportunity for him. But now he gets to come with the Raiders. He gets to be Clint Kubiak's number 2. And look, as Clint being the head coach now, I would expect Clint to be the primary play caller. And Andrew JANOCKO is going to be the guy that sort of helps install the game plan, kind of like how the Rams have Mike LaFleur and Nathan Schlehaas to kind of help out Sean McVay in that regard. But at the end of the day, Sean McVay is the one calling plays. So that's the situation that I would expect. A lot of people don't want that. I heard Lincoln Kennedy talking about this today. Ideally, he doesn't like the head coaches calling plays, but I think when you hire a guy like Clint Kubiak, you are hiring a schemer, as opposed to maybe someone who's a vocal leader like a Bill Parcells or someone like that. But not saying that that's a bad thing. What I think is when you're hiring Clint Kubiak, you got to let his genius shine. So he's going to be the one calling plays, and Andrew JANOCKO is going to be his number 2, helping him with everything.
And they talked about that last year. He even said, Clint Kubiak in his presser said that there was 3 of them that would talk about what plays to what they were, especially when the offense, before the offense went on the field, they were in heavy discussions on how they were going to attack, what they were going to do, what they seen. They were collaborative. It's going to be, I think that we may see Rob Leonard. He may be up in the box this year. That was kind of the talk today. Is he going to be on the field or up in the box? So I think JANOCKO's going to. I think he's going to be right there in the box with Leonard to relay down to Clint Kubiak what he sees from above. Kind because they are, they're going to get they're definitely going to get a quarterbacks coach. But JANOCKO, interesting, was one of Derek Carr's best friends too. He had Derek Carr on his podcast, talked about meetings with this guy and how well versed and how well prepared he was. So that was a very, well, Derek Carr loves everybody, but this was one of his better best friends that he spoke very highly of JANOCKO. So
yeah, I did see that. Yeah, Derek Carr talked about him being a man of faith too. Yeah. So yeah, this is very, very excited about this. I'm very excited to see how all this meshes together, and if there's going to be some things that they change in their offense now with the new personnel, whether it be, I think the biggest thing is, what do they do with Brock Bowers? Because they in Seattle they had AJ Barner, but he's not a tight end like Bowers. Jackson Smith-Njigba was their number one receiver, but in this case, Brock Bowers is their number one receiver. So how do they utilize Bowers as this hybrid tight end wide receiver? What are the ways they're able to get him the ball, to get not only to make some good catches, but to have some running catch opportunities for Bowers too, because Bowers is so hard to tackle as well. So really, really excited to see when they go in the lab and they're able to identify their opponent's weaknesses and see that they got to strengthen Brock Bowers and how they're able to deploy him best.
Especially when he's getting double coverage, because they will use that. They put him in the backfield and get him isolated. And they did that with JSN a lot. So that would be Oracle, right before we leave, 401 Raider Jeff has a great question. Him and Clint will get Geno on track for 2026. What do you think about that, Oracle?
I disagree with that. I mean, I don't think Geno's going to be on the roster. I think it's going to be the Fernando Mendoza show. I did hear that Tom Brady does think it's ideal to have a bridge quarterback.
Yes.
For the rookies, but I think they go after someone else. Who that is, I don't know.
I think it's AOC. I think AOC's in his last year of his rookie deal. He's going to make, I think, roughly $3 million this year. I think that's where they're going to go, because AOC is not a bad quarterback. He just doesn't have very good feet. And maybe with this offense that Mr. Clint Kubiak's putting in, maybe AOC would thrive in this offense. And if he does look good in the preseason with Mendoza, there's AOC, you could sign him again, because he's going to get backup quarterback money.
I definitely think that would be ideal. But here's the other thing. We could talk about bridge quarterbacks and stuff like that. The Raiders have a bridge owner quarterback we don't know how involved Tom Brady will be with Fernando Mendoza, but I would hope that he is involved because I think just based on seeing Fernando Mendoza and Tom Brady, I think they're two peas in a pod with how they're football obsessed. They love to prepare, and Brady wants this to be a success. Brady, because this is very attached to his legacy. And I'm curious to see how motivated Tom Brady is in mentoring Fernando Mendoza. So we could talk about signing Joe Flacco or Kirk Cousins to be a bridge quarterback and all that stuff to help Mendoza, but not the Raiders are the only team that has a minority owner who was an elite quarterback at one point, and he's not that far from being a former player. And so I think it's something that to really consider there. Even though Tom Brady has said that, I think he's talking in general when it comes to most teams, but the Raiders are not most teams in that they have a minority owner in Tom Brady who could has the ability to mentor a quarterback if he wants to.
I think Raider Jeff, I don't disagree with him about Geno being here. And I'll tell you why. There's already talk about him staying. And I've saw that it's been talked about him probably within the last couple of days. I don't know if that's going to be a good thing for the Raiders or a bad thing. You only save $8 million, right? If you cut him.
Correct.
Okay. I don't think Geno Smith is a bad quarterback. I don't think he's our future. I think that, believe me, I would rather keep AOC. But Jeff brings up a good point, because there is still a lot of people out there that think that getting draft choices is the way to go. And let me, Oracle, what do you think about? Do you think there's a possibility that AOC and Geno are on this, or do you think Geno's going to be cut? I mean, I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure yet.
I think he's cut. I just don't get the value in bringing him back.
Why do you say that?
Because I just think it's time to move on to Fernando Mendoza. And when you're drafting a guy number 1 overall, I get that in the old days, a lot of quarterbacks ideally sat behind a veteran and even high draft picks. But I just think this is a situation where you're getting a guy, Fernando Mendoza. You know, there have been number 1 draft picks that have needed to sit because they have the physical tools, but they need to learn the processing and stuff like that. I don't think it's an issue of the processing with Fernando Mendoza. I think it's the doubts with him are more of, is he a top end physical talent in terms of, is he a top arm talent guy? Is he the most mobile guy?
Right.
And I get that he's probably not, but that doesn't mean he can't be a great quarterback. I mean, Tom Brady wasn't the most physically gifted quarterback. He had good physical skills, but he wasn't the most physically gifted. Drew Brees didn't have the most physical skills, but he's going to be a Hall of Famer. So a lot of it's what's in between your ears. I think Fernando Mendoza is more in the mold of those quarterbacks, where he's a really good processor, pre-snap, is smart with the football. And once he finds comfortability with the scheme, that's when he'll really thrive. And obviously, if they protect him, of course. But I just don't see the value of keeping Geno Smith at that salary when you're not gonna. When ideally you don't want him starting for you.
Well, you just paid him $40 million. Now it's $8 million, and I'm just telling you, Jeff is against having Fernando Mendoza. Jeff does a TV show like us, and he's very adamant about getting more picks. And if you look at the quarterbacks next year, these are a lot of guys like Jeff that are speaking like this. You got CJ Carr, Dante Moore, Arch Manning, Julian Sain, Lenora Sellers, and the guy I really like is Sam Levitt. I'm a big Sam Levitt, and this is what, and Jeff is very adamant about seeing what he could get for those picks, and he's not the only one. And again, I want Mendoza. I'm just saying, but I don't disagree with a guy like Jeff. And then you got my nepotism. Mendoza works with Kubiak, a system guard quarterback. Totally agree with that point. And here's Jeff. Jeff, not against the kid's talent. I just want value for the number 1. There's some really top talent we can play right away, unlike Mendoza. Well, I think Mendoza can play right away. I don't think that's the problem. But this is your next year's quarterbacks. What do you think of those quarterbacks coming out next year? If you were the Raiders, is Mendoza number 1 overall? Those guys?
I don't know, but here's what I do know. I think a lot of NFL teams are looking at this list and they're asking themselves this question. Okay, we could trade up for Fernando Mendoza. We like Fernando Mendoza. We could give the Raiders an offer. But then they look at this list and they're like, why don't we just wait? Teams like the Jets, teams like the Cardinals, teams like the Dolphins, they may be more inclined to kind of wait this draft out, get a position player, and then hope they get a good pick next year to where they could get a quarterback that is suitable, that they have more certainty of.
So they're going to wait for next year, you're thinking.
Yeah, because I think the whole thing with guys like Dante Moore, Arch Manning, even Lenora Sellers, they have quote unquote more of the physical tools that a lot of these elite quarterbacks have. They're more closer to the guys like a Justin Herbert's tools or a Josh Allen's tools. Whereas Mendoza's more along the lines, if he were to be really good, along the lines of a Jared Goff, hopefully a better version of Jared Goff, or a Matt Ryan, something like that. So I think yes, it would be great if a team gave the Raiders a bunch of picks and the Raiders were able to maximize the draft, get more picks for this year, and then hopefully get a quarterback next year. But I think a lot of the teams are not going to give an offer to the Raiders because they're looking at this list and going, you know what, let the Raiders have their quarterback. We're going to wait for next year. So look, it would be great to get more picks, but you have to have someone that gives you a suitable offer in order to have that.
Got you. And again, I'm looking at a lot of quarterbacks on that list that look good. There's a lot of next year is going to be a very, very good year for them. But if you're like Jeff, you're like, well, hey, if we say we can get 2 number ones from the Jets for, let's just say we can, whether you agree or not, okay? You get that. So then you're going to be getting probably going after Armel Reese, Reuben Bain, Bailey. Then you go free agency with offensive line and go defense on the draft, because this year we have very good linebackers, very good secondary in this draft. So this is what I've been hearing a lot of. And there's a lot of very knowledgeable guys, just like Jeff, that are like, hey, man, this is the time for us to build our defense up right now. And this is a really, really good draft, because look at the quarterbacks we can get next year. And my number one quarterback next year would be Sam Levitt. I think he's a stud. But I get no, there we go. There you go. Yes, like last year they said this year was going to be the year of the quarterback, and then it wasn't. Okay. But I mean, next year there are definitely legitimate quarterbacks coming out. Dante Moore, I mean, he would have been a number one draft. They're already talking about Ty Simpson going in the top 10, okay? I don't know. Somebody bumped their head, and their agents already took him to the Epstein Island. So I don't even get that whole shit. And then Shambliss isn't even on here on that list.
No.
So
yeah. So, and look, here's the thing. Arch Manning could have came out this year. Lenora Sellers could have came out this year. Dante Moore could have came out this year. And going into last year's college football season, if we were to rewind to 6 or 7 months ago, we were talking about Arch Manning, Lenora Sellers, Garrett Nussmeier, a bunch of guys that could potentially be first-round picks. And then now we're here, and Fernando Mendoza is really the quarterback that people only have a first-round grade on. So we could anticipate 2027, but 2027 may come, and teams may be disappointed. So I think the Raiders right now have an opportunity to get a guy who could be a franchise quarterback.
Yeah. Well, that's why we do this show, because we are all jailhouse GMs. That's what we call them. Wow. We know what we're doing. The Raiders don't, and they should have Jeff. And Jeff, I love Jeff. I've watched his shows, and very, very smart guy. He's from New England, and
he must be. He's wicked smart.
He's wicked smart, and he's got mad hot. The boy got mad hot, and I want Mendoza, but I don't. I'm not the kind of guy. No, come on, Jeff. He makes a lot of sense. But I haven't seen any of the draft prognosticators, the guys that get to go to Epstein Island, like the Breers and the rest of those guys. Hey, hold on and listen to this. And I hate the Pats. This is turning into the Jeff LaFontaine show. He did. I called him right before the Super Bowl, and I go, "You got to be sick right now." He's all, "I effing hate them. I better lose." So Oracle, we'll be on Friday.
All right.
But after Friday, we're going to be doing Mondays. We're going to be doing Monday shows. starting on Monday. That way we can get what happened on the weekend. We can talk about anything that goes on. And yes, I am, Jeff. I am going to the draft. Not where I'm going to be in Vegas, but yeah, my son and I are going to be at a Raider draft. Real quickly, if you want to hang out with me and the Oracle, I'm sure there's millions of you that do. We are going on the cruise, the Raider cruise, on May 15th. We are going down to Ensenada. Unfortunately, Albert Breer and them won't be there. They'll be at the Epstein Island. So, but there will be lots of Raiders there, and we will keep posting that. I'll post it on Friday. And I will be going to the Commitment to Excellence dinner in 2 weeks. I've been an honored guest. I'm going to be looking forward to seeing Max Crosby. I think it's the 4th year in a row he's taken the CTE. We used to be Commitment to Excellence used to be the Gorman Award back in the 70s and 80s for the Raiders. It was the Gussie Gorman Award. And it's the Raider who most exemplifies pride and poise. So I will be there. But the Oracle, are you ready to go on that cruise?
Oh, definitely ready. Yeah, definitely. I just got a big pound of sunblock from Costco. So yeah, we're ready.
Sunblock.
I wear sunblock. You don't wear sunblock?
Yeah, no, that's why I have beautiful skin. I don't put junk on myself. Oracle, we'll see you on Friday, guys. We'll see you on Friday. Hey, guys, like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. And thanks for everybody who came, especially you, Jeff. Appreciate you watching the show. Love to support the New England guys too. And we will see you on Friday at 6:30. And then after that, every Monday, 6:30. Every Monday, 6:30, okay? Good night now.
Good night now.
Roethlisberger. Intercepted again. Picked off by Chris Carr. This is a foot race with Roethlisberger. And there he goes.
Have really changed the situation here. Intercepted back for the touchdown. The Jets could capitalize. Garner. Well, this is going to make everything move. Everything. They're on to Foxborough. Touchdown. Tannehill under pressure, and it's intercepted. Tipped and picked off. Maurice Hurst off to the races. Tannehill cuts him down at about the 25-yard line. What a turn of events for the Raiders. Tim Brown deep for the punt from Hendrick. Come Raiders. Down at the 18-yard line. Hendrick knew he couldn't get that kickoff and held on to it.
The penalty they spotted at the 7. They hand off, it's Pryor. A lot of real estate to the 30. Pryor is off and running. Inside Steelers territory. 20, 10, and Pryor